Hey loves, I'm Marley List and welcome to the Sensual Revolution. This is a global movement to reclaim sensual empowerment on an embodied and systemic level. My personal path of sensuality has not been easy. Shame around my body image, sexual abuse, my queerness had me dissociated and numbed the heck out. It's been a big journey to get to where I am today, but I really have turned my pain to purpose. Along the way, I've learned our personal healing makes epic waves in this world. This podcast is here to remind you that your healing is selfless. When you learn to shed shame, love your body, and claim your worth, you pave the way for all people to do the same. You can expect to hear from sexual educators and healers who work at the personal level of sensual empowerment, as well as policymakers and justice leaders who work at the systemic level. It's all connected. So whether you're at the very beginning of your own sensual healing journey, or you're a sex positive advocate and superstar, this community welcomes you. So let's come together and revolutionize this planet one loving, sensual step at a time. Hey loves, welcome back to another episode of the Sensual Revolution. I'm so excited because today we are here with one of my absolute favorite people. This woman is so inspiring and so funny. Her name is Kelsey Darragh. She's an actor, writer, filmmaker, feminist, comedian, bisexual icon. You've probably seen her producing hundreds of videos on the internet. She made it big on BuzzFeed, and she's reached millions of people with her messages. She has this gorgeous gift of tackling really taboo and important subjects like mental health, beauty, feminism, sexism, chronic pain. These are all things that she's able to dive into in such a real and authentic way, and in a way that also brings so much laughter into the room. So what a gift she is. Dear friend, huge inspiration. She also created a top-tier show for Comcast called Watchable, Am I Doing This Right? An irreverent true crime pilot for Oxygen's linear channel, and she hosts a top-rated iTunes comedy and social commentary podcast, Confidently Insecure. Recently, she published her book called Don't Fucking Panic, which goes so deep into her own personal journey with mental health and provides all of these incredible, tangible practices for your own healing around panic disorder, anxiety, and depression. She is such an amazing human being, and the conversation that we share in today's episode is everything. As always, Kelsey gets really real, really honest, really funny, really raw about her journey with mental health. We look at the intersection between pleasure and chronic pain, and also leadership and empowerment through sharing our voice with the world. So I know you're going to love this. I know you're going to laugh a lot. I know you're going to feel as inspired as I did by all of the wisdom that gets dropped here. So get ready to go. And of course, if this episode inspires you, please do share it and leave a review so that we can uplift and amplify this message. I am here with the queen of the world.
My Leo self is like, yes, I'll take that.
Yes. No, I'm so excited. We have Kelsey Darragh with us today.
Oh my God.
Kelsey is like an epic inspiration for real.
You. This podcast episode is just going to be me like turning any compliment back to you. So
no. Like I do so much complimenting too, so it'll just be like a constant tennis match of like, no, you
are. I know you are.
I'm so excited. About a year ago, Kelsey and I connected when I was on her podcast, and we were like instant BFF vibes and create epicness and change the world through witchy self-care energy. So here we are now.
And now you have a podcast. It's a year later. I'm so proud of you. I'm just so in awe of everything that you do. Okay, I'm going to try to not compliment you the whole time. But I'm just so proud of you that you have a podcast. It's about fucking time.
Oh, thank you. I know, I'm really excited about it. And I just love it. I love it already.
Let me add it to my daily listen because I am such a podcast whore that I have like 50 podcasts a day that I listen to, and I'm not kidding. It makes me feel like I have friends, but it's really just me alone. There you are. You look like such a businesswoman.
I know, but like plus the pink pussycat.
Wait, you launched on my birthday.
What?
Oh my God. No wonder I didn't see it yet because I was
you were celebrating your birthday. Happy belated birthday.
Thank you. I can't believe I'm 31. It seems creepy.
Wild. Okay, so I have a cool question to start with. You can answer as grounded, as practical, as meta, as witchy, however you want to answer. Who are you right now?
Ooh, who am I right now? Oh, what a good question. Who am I right now? That's so funny. I actually pulled a card this morning from our friend Leah Knauer's deck. And the question was like, what makes you a bad bitch? And like, I obviously have a very hard time like accepting self-love and compliments and like from myself and others. And so I really honed in on trying to like hype myself up this morning. And so I feel like this is a perfect question because I already did it this morning of being like, I am a hardworking, loyal advocate and activist for mental health and women and spoonies and just generally anyone that is trying to like survive and thrive out here. I'm trying to do it with y'all. And I'm a creator, right? Like that's who I am always, but I feel even more especially tapped into that as of late.
Fuck yeah. Yes, you are. All facts. And please like tell the people, because I know how epic you are, but I don't know if they do. Can you just give us like a glimpse into all the amazing things you're working on and creating right now?
Okay, well, first of all, the whole like way we even met was I was so enamored by your story and so inspired by you. And I couldn't stop thinking about you. Like after I do podcasts, I try to close the chapter on it and say like, this is out into the world. You have to keep creating because if you like harp on something too long, you'll drive yourself crazy. Like that's something beautiful about the internet is how fast paced it moves. But when I interviewed you, I could not stop fucking thinking about you. And I remember being so nervous to be like, I have this idea. What if we like made your story into a television show? And you were like, yes, 100%, let's do it. And I was like, really? Oh my God. And so I felt so like honored that you would like trust me to make a version of your message and like your whole life's work. So on my like my billboard. It's basically a billboard on my whiteboard in my office right now. My number 2 project is Marley Script, which we have in like cycle between my writing partner and myself, and my management company and my agents are all obsessed. And like, we're really working on finding the right team to attach to it that can like blow this up with clout and like credibility in the traditional linear space. Cause like while I can flaunt my tail feathers in the internet space, we really wanted to hit the market of like, you know, bigger, wider audience net with your story. So that's like definitely what I'm working on. I'm also working on a documentary about a mental health case that involves a 15-year-old girl who was wrongfully imprisoned for having a mental health crisis. You can check that out on justiceforsoraya.com. We are partnered with LeBron James's company, which is really exciting. That is basically what I've been working on for the last year since the pandemic. Let's see, I have 2 podcasts, exciting, yay, you were on one of them. The other one is very like lighthearted. It's about movies and TV shows that we all love to hate and hate to love. I just literally last night submitted my short film to Sundance, which was like, so much support from so many people. Like it was completely crowdfunded. We have an amazing actress from Mr. Robot, Carly Chaikin, leading, and it's like very dark. It's like I need to send you a cut because it's like very fucked up. It's about like what happens when women are forced to choose between their mental health and their physical health and their sexual wellness. Yes, and it's like takes place in the era of like isolation and pandemic, and it's just very like extreme. It's basically like what I know has happened to women and myself included of like what the side effects of mental health medication can be, including like completely erasing your sex drive and libido. And so that's really exciting. Check that off my list. And then I started a company, but that's like a home decor company that doesn't have to be talked about because it's not really involved in the creative space, but that's something really exciting and fun that I'm doing. So that feels like right now. Oh, and I'm writing my second book because the first one released this year did really well. Now we're writing the second one.
I'm just gonna keep complimenting you, so you'll have to get used to it. But
no,
you're I didn't even say it yet. I'm like
you do all the things.
You inspire me every single day. Like literally every day lately I've been journaling. Like, what do I want to do this day in order to manifest my dreams?
Hell yeah.
And I think of you every day and I'm just like, this queen is doing so much and it's all so impactful. Thank you.
Genuinely, I think of it. You pop in my head. Like there are a few women that pop into my head where I'm like, they do so much. Like they are entrepreneurs, self-made, like the definition. And like, you're honestly someone that is constantly in my just like baseline of thinking of when I think of like bad bitches and powerful women. And like, you do so much. Look what you're doing for the world. It's crazy.
Thank you. I would love to hear more about your personal journey with mental health. And I know you've been so gorgeously open about that. So whatever you're called to share.
Yeah, absolutely. So I released my first book called Don't Fucking Panic, the shit they don't tell you in therapy about anxiety disorders, panic attack, and depression. It's right there if you're watching the video. And then I also have a stack. I'm very narcissistic with myself with that book. I'm like, I wrote a book. I'm going to put it in every corner of my fucking life.
Proud.
Yes. Thank you. Proud. Yeah. So I basically created a workbook. It's not necessarily like a novel or memoir, but it's a workbook that's divided into 3 sections: anxiety, anxiety, panic attacks, and depression, which are like my big 3. I know we talk about like the stars and cosmos. Like, what are you? A Cancer, Leo? I'm like, I'm anxiety, panic attacks, and depression. That's my big 3. And I basically created the workbook that I wish I had when I was 17, going through the absolute worst, most dark, fucked up, suicidal, drunk, hungover time of my life, which was just, how do I manage this? What is this even called? What is this thing that is happening to me? Why does this medication do this? And why do I have to keep switching meds? And why isn't it working? And am I going to be like this forever? And like, I kept that so private. And it wasn't until I started working at BuzzFeed where I really started to gain that. I hate like the word following, because to me, it's more like community and listenership and like backboard of being able to produce ideas and content with people, that I felt finally in a good enough place. And I say good enough place, not meaning that like anything was cured or I was better, but I was just confident enough that it needed to be talked about. Like I just had heard too many stories. I had seen too many people go through the exact same things I did, thinking that they were crazy, fucked up, they were going to be locked up in a loony bin, that their, thoughts were going to overtake them. And I just was like, fuck this. I'm going to start making content about it. And as soon as I did, the world just like scooped me up and hugged me and was like, yes, baby, we've been waiting for you, like here. And it just sent me on this incredible journey of being able to make content about, mental health, specifically like with young millennial women. And that led me to getting a book deal about it. And then we made a book and now it's out. And now I've somehow, I always say, become like an accidental advocate. I never fucking in a million years planned on being like the internet's mental health, not therapist, but sort of basically big sister of mental health. And if you would have told me that 10 years ago, I would have like laughed in your face and been like, oh, you're fucking crazy. Cause never in a million trillion years. I'm sure you went through like the same thing. Like you found a way to turn your pain into purpose and passion. And now I will never shut up about it. Now I will only talk about mental health, and I will only, share my truth and my deepest, darkest secrets, not only because it's therapeutic, but because of the way that the world has healed me, and the way that people have enraptured me in their love and care and community. And it's just been like, every time I think about it, I'm just like, oh my God, I never thought I could get here ever with my mental health, ever. And it's still just like, you'll never get used to it, right? Like, I'm sure you feel the same way with what you do. You're like, I send bitches to like Costa Rica to heal their trauma. What the fuck? Like, I couldn't even do that. Like, to me, I feel so much like still part of it. I don't feel like a guru or better than thou or healed, or like I'm the one that knows it all. I just feel so connected to people with this topic that it's easily become like such a huge part of my identity, and therefore like brand of, you know, my career, that I'm like constantly in awe of it.
Aw, I love that so much. And that's like
Aw.
exactly what this whole podcast and really movement is about, is like just showing that when we reclaim our own stuff, it ripples out. And it's not us saying, like you said, it's not us being like, I'm a guru, I know everything. It's not like that. It's just like,
No.
shit, like I'm doing this too. I was there 3 months ago. I'm working through that right now. Like, here's what really helped me. So I love that you're so grounded in it. What's been your relationship with that, with like being an advocate? What's been really rewarding about it, and what's been really strange or even like terrifying or weird?
Yeah. I mean, I think the terrifying weird ones are super easy to like clasp onto and be like, that was fucked up, or like, this is the awful part of it, because it just is. It's more substance of a thing. Like, you know, it's very hard to get those messages or DMs where people are in their worst place, and it's not necessarily a like cry for help. It's just sort of a like a trauma dump, and I might not be emotionally there, and you also don't want this person like clinging on for their life when you might be their only outlet. You might be so there's definitely a weight that comes with being so open about, you know, life being so precious. And I try to find boundaries in a way that I, you know, can offer support, whether it just be like having a script that I copy and paste out of my notes, like here's like resources, or like here's what I can offer you. And um I think those people too also learn that they already have the power within themselves. Like they actually don't need me. Sometimes they just need to vent or talk to someone. So that's been like kind of the hardest stuff, is when you feel this weight. Um Also that like, and I don't know if you feel this way about your stuff, but I'll feel like I'm still in it. So how could I possibly be like helping people if I still haven't like quote unquote figured it out? And so that's the negative self-talk. That's the like that's the the narrative sometimes that isn't truthful. And so sometimes I'll be like, okay, bitch, like just because you're human and relatable doesn't mean you can't still publish that you're human and relatable. So that's definitely like the tougher parts of it, being an advocate or like an ally or like a public figure about it. But the like best parts is literally 99.9% of everything else about it. You know, it's like, first of all, just selfishly, the weight that I was able to lift off myself of like having that fear that when someone Googles me, what's going to come up? Am I going to be unhireable? Am I going to be looked at as damaged? Am I going to be, and coming through that, and not only seeing it not be that, but be the opposite, like be the thing that has been the most successful and impactful in my career. Yeah, right. You're kind of like so self-critical and self-doubtful in the beginning, but seeing where it is now and getting through that like really brave part was just, you can't like learn that or pay for that in a class, right? Like you just have to like do it yourself. And so that's what I try to instill in other people, is like that empowerment, is that knowledge. I think knowledge is so powerful, and like treatment and modality discovery is so fun for me. Like I get to now, you know, like right now I'm like trying microdosing mushrooms, and that's something that I fucking never would have tried or thought I could do. So that's like the positive part, is that now I get to be in this world of like maybe actually getting to help change people's lives, which is really cool. Really cool.
my heart was so full
Mm,
listening to that, because I feel like it's this experience, like what you're saying, that narrative of imposter syndrome, basically, where you're like, who am I to do this? Because I'm still struggling sometimes, or a lot of the time, and then doing it
yeah.
anyway. But then seeing that when you're vocal and
Mhm.
vulnerable and real about that, actually the world is like, we love you even more. We're benefiting even more from this message now. And
Yes.
like, yeah, that's amazing.
Yes. It's just like you see yourself a lot in people, I think. Like
Mm,
the best thing I could do is give someone a relieving moment, even if it's just 5 minutes or 5 days. Like that to me is what life is about, right? It's like connection between people. And it's so
mhm.
easy to get wrapped up in other shit, but it really is that like little moment. And you can find that really in anything. You could be like a fucking insurance agent and like provide that to someone, right? It's
Yeah.
just like how you put it out there and then how you like hype beast yourself too, like how you self validate too.
Do you feel like a lot of your healing has happened through making impact?
Ooh, whoa. I never really thought about that. Do you feel that way?
I do. I mean, it's kind of a leading question.
Ah, yeah.
Like I feel that way, because
Yeah.
for me, I feel like actually making impact was the thing that saved me, because it helped me give meaning to
Ooh.
trauma. I was like, why did this happen? And then it clicked for me that,
Mm,
oh, first with my writing, I was like, oh, if I share this, it can help people, and that gives this some kind of meaning. And
mm,
that actually like pulled me out of my darkest shit and kept
mhm,
me going. um
mm.
for some people, they're like, no, so draining, like, or both, but
Yeah.
yeah, I'm curious, like, you're always creating and impacting
Mm,
so much.
mm.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's definitely like therapeutic to make. And then I have to release like expectations too, like if someone doesn't like it or doesn't want like I got a bad review on my book. I saw someone like with put 3 stars and was just like, yeah, normally I look to Kelsey for like mental health stuff, but this just didn't translate well. And I was like, what? That's so fucking vague. What are you fucking talking about? Like, it's like that one thing where I'm like, what the fuck? And then I let that shit go. I'm like, you know what? There's like 5,000 other people that have soaked this in and that's where it comes from, you have to let go of so early. But
Mhm.
the like finding purpose in it is so tricky because like you're right, like it gives me a reason to wake up, right? It gives me a reason to like check my DMs. It gives me so much purpose. And then like what else, right?
Mhm.
Like
Mhm.
if there's no one that needs help that day, what else? Like what else
Mm.
can I do? And then I think that's where I really turn inward and go into like you're never done with the self work, like you're never
Mhm.
done. And it's not meant to be endless. It's not meant to be like a hill to climb. There's just always little things, little reminders, like you're never perfect. And so when I find that I'm not creating or helping other people, I'm going like, what am I doing? What am I judging about myself right now? Like where am I, like I have to lean in a little bit into like my Leo self and like do a little bit like self like petting.
It's so, so, so important. And then I find naturally too, like, it's such a cycle, because if you weren't
Mm.
doing that, how would you possibly have the energy to do all the things? And
Right.
I love that you brought that up, because I was actually thinking about you once, because I remember like my first few experiences with haters, and it was like crippling. I was like, oh my God. I was like, how is Taylor Swift still alive? Like,
And you see what it does. It fucking builds you, right? It makes you even more like
yeah, yeah, exactly. It's
yeah.
true. It's true. And I love that you can do that, because I've definitely
Mm.
had times where I'm like, I can't do this. I can't
Mhm.
do this. But then, like you're saying, you learn to take care of yourself in such beautiful ways. Okay,
Mhm.
so how did you get so good at at taking care of yourself? Like you have a
Feel
literal whole
right.
book about like working through all of these hard things. So where did all this come from?
Being raised in the world that like women are raised in, I think, right? Like it really, writing the book made me wake up to my story that I had been like thinking it was this one way, and then going back and like interviewing my parents and my family members and my friends, I was like, oh fuck, like looking back now I have such different insight and wisdom to what that was, or like why that was that thing. And it what like I was an emotional fucking person. Like I am an HSP, I am a Leo double Gemini. Like I am nothing but fucking emotion. And I used to hate that about myself. I was told you're too dramatic. Oh my God, there's so much drama. Like you're a hypochondriac. You want attention. You're such like an attention seeker. And I was told that all of that shit was a bad thing. It was said with such negativity. And it took so long to turn that around into like, you know what, just because you didn't fucking like it, or because it didn't fucking match your agenda, or was not like patriarchal, doesn't mean that it was wrong. And why wouldn't I want attention? Like I'm great, I'm doing shit, like, or I need help and I'm suffering, why wouldn't I want attention? Like there are so many like literal narratives I had to rewrite of like realizing that things happen to us, but it's also what we do with that like defines us, right? Because we can go into like victimhood, and we can lay in that. And I think that's important. It's important to honor that, but it's also important to like get up and make something of your victimhood, and not let it change your life for the worse, you know? Like I think all of us could really say, look at this fucking shit that's happened to us in life. Like fuck just what's happened in the last year. Fuck just like the Trump administration, like just in general, this fuckery of shit we've had to like grow up in. And we could all say like, no, fuck it, we're all just gonna like roll over, but we don't, right? Like we are fully the change makers. Like our generation is fully being like, we're reversing everything, we're saying no, we're doing the work. And it's given me so much clarity to like the way that I really do control my destiny. Because you can choose, right? Like you can kind of make choices every day in little ways or subconsciously to be the victor or the victim, right?
Can I ask, like, how does that narrative and thinking, how does that allow you to feel?
What a question. Like, how does it allow me to feel like?
Yeah, like it's like getting out of that kind of mindset of feeling like you're a victim to life, and getting out of that and claiming responsibility, and like taking on this I think really gorgeous narrative of I'm gonna be better from this. I'm gonna rise up from this. I'm gonna be the phoenix from the ashes. Like all these things. How does that allow you to feel?
Such a beautiful question, because it's like the answer is not linear nor one way, right? Like it's different for everyone. I still struggle with it. Like with my chronic pain, I'm like, this thing happened to me, how unfair. And I could like be that way forever, or I could realize like that sucks to live in that space all the time. Like it's affecting everything else. Every part of my life gets affected if I focus on that. So like, what can I reverse engineer in my neural pathways every day? And I think it takes so much fucking time too. Like my advice is always to younger people is like, start doing it now. Like cut out toxic bitches, cut out toxic men, like start reading, fucking follow people that inspire you, unfollow people that make you feel bad about yourself in any way, that you're not enough, you're not pretty enough, you're not skinny enough, you're like, just start taking control. And it can be done in like micro ways. It doesn't have to be this full out like what I do, which is like the Leo and the like everybody watch how I do this thing. Like it's like it's like revolution enough to just be existing right now. And that, I think coming into that knowledge and power is like step one. I don't know. What do you think?
Yeah. No, I love that. I love what you shared. And I feel like the way that you deliver it has such a gorgeous, fierce compassion. Because I think sometimes I've gotten triggered by the narrative of like, it's funny, I can say it with myself, but when I hear other people say it about other people, I'm like, wait, like when they're like, well, everything happens for a reason. And sometimes it feels like that. And to me, I'm like, that feels so lacking in compassion.
Oof.
But then the way that you are saying it is like, it's this really fierce, strong compassion of like, this might suck. Like
just
this.
give me chills.
Well,
you were so much better at it. You say it so much better.
No, it's just what I was feeling as you were sharing. And it's like, yeah, this fierce compassion, because it's just a really nice balance of being like, you're a queen, get up, do the fucking thing. And like, it's also okay if you feel like shit about it one day. And then that doesn't mean you're not a fierce queen. It's just like really whole. So I like that.
You know, it's I'm like taking my own advice in that it's like, I'm not just saying this to gas you up, but it's like your newsletter pops into my inbox. And even if I'm just like, oh God, like I'm like in pain and I'm stressed and like, I don't want to fucking like, I just know if I like, just open it and just like, let it sit. Maybe I'll like skim it later. Or like, if I just get a couple words in or whatever, it's like little tiny things. It's like pulling the card. It's like taking a moment during my coffee break to like put my feet really on the ground, or, you know, it's just little things that I have decided to put into my life that even if I don't like clearly feel the way that like I'm feeling you feel through your like newsletter, I'm still like, you know what though, I'm going to do it anyway. I'm going to see it. I'm going to read it. I'm going to let my body ingest it. And my therapist said something once that like blew my fucking mind. She was like, you can feel sad. It doesn't mean you are sad, but you can feel sad and you can like feel anger, but it doesn't mean you are angry. And I was like, whoa. Okay. Like I'm allowed to have all of these things without letting it become everything, without letting it consume me. And then making those active choices to like include shit in your diet of life that reverse that. And like, you're a huge part of it, like whether or not you know it or not. Like I see you every day in some form or way, you know? Give me sparkly emojis. I love them.
I am unapologetically elated about the plug for my newsletter. And
it's great. I love a newsletter. Digestible, quick, like highlighted, bolded. I'm like, when the New York Times sends me something, I'm like, oh, I gotta read so much fucking shit. And this, I'm just like, okay, got what I need. And now I go.
Oh, this is the power of resources. And this is what exactly what you said of just people existing as we are right now is so revolutionary and so helpful, because the power of a resource is so real. Like I can wake up and feel like shit about myself. And then if I just hear one quote or I see one person being kind to themselves, I read one affirmation, it can change everything.
Yes.
Yeah. You're doing that.
You are. What do you mean? I'm talking about you. Yeah. Like it's crazy though. It's one little thing and it becomes a habit, right?
Yeah.
Like I always say the thing that gave me the most freedom was routine, which sounds so contradictory, but like there is no doubt in my mind that I wake up every morning, you know, after I pee and brush my teeth, I go downstairs, I get my latte. That's like my fucking time is to just fucking put some lavender syrup in there, fucking foam up some oat milk. Like it's sexy.
Yes, I was like, what kind of milk, Kelsey? What kind of milk?
Oat milk. Although I will say they were out of oat milk the other week and I tried pea milk.
Oh, I don't know.
It sounds gross. I wouldn't drink it on its own, but like foamed in a latte, I'm not mad about it.
Listeners, DM us your milk preferences. And if you've tried pea milk,
we need to take a poll. Yes. Like I'm not going to say no to anything right now in my life, you know? But yeah, it's like, I know without a doubt that like, I'm going to have that moment. I'm going to go outside. I'm going to get some vitamin D. I'm going to pull a card. I'm going to journal. Like I just make it attractive and accessible to myself, because if you don't
Mm,
have that, like you're never going to get into a fucking routine. And the same way, I think accessibility to resources is so important. Like having a free newsletter, having like a deck of cards that you can use over and over again, like just having anything is a huge deal. And like
mhm.
anyone can make that happen. Maybe it's like
Yeah.
reposting something on your story. Like you can be that person. You don't have to be like an influencer or a public figure or whatever. Like you have that power. You have it all in you. Like it's just about daily reminders that that's true, you
I
know?
love that. I think that's such a gorgeous I feel like I say gorgeous a lot. I think that's such a
I love it. You've said it a couple times, and every
yeah.
time you said it, I've been like, I'm taking that to
Oh,
the
yeah. I think that's a gorgeous message because yeah, I hear people say a lot. Like I want to make impact, I want to share a message with the world, but I don't have the following. And you're so right. It's like who
you don't need
cares
it.
if you have 2 Instagram followers, that's 2 human beings with like a
Oh,
story and all this,
yes.
yeah, all this life.
Energy.
Exactly. Since this is the sensual revolution, I'd love to hear about how you bring pleasure into your life. And I want to honor you too because I'm like, hopefully this isn't offensive. I feel like anytime someone identifies as something and I don't, I'm like, something could, whatever.
No,
Okay.
I hear you. I'm the
So,
same way. It's like I'm always safe than sorry.
yes,
But you know,
exactly.
we bitches, like we close. You can't fuck me up.
Exactly. So, okay, every time I injure my back, which happens like
Mm,
every few months, I like
painful.
can't move for a few days. And I think of everyone who struggles with chronic pain on the daily.
Ooh.
And I'm like, I cannot imagine. And
Mm,
wow, it's really, 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 really
mm,
like something to honor to
mm,
be able to
mm,
connect with joy and pleasure while
mm.
you're navigating that pain. So obviously that's not
Big
all you're
time.
connecting with.
No,
But I
but
would love to
a big
hear
part.
like what has that been like, that relationship with
Ooh,
pleasure?
yeah. I mean, it's so funny because I'm in the throes of writing the second book, and there's so many things. The second book is about chronic pain. I don't know if I mentioned that. It's kind of in the same style as Don't Fucking Panic, but it's gonna be, I think it's gonna be called It Fucking Hurts. And
Mm-hmm.
it's about like chronic pain and illness and like, you know, how to manage and live a livable life, because you know it's
Yeah.
like whew, yeah, it's weighing heavily on me right now because it's something I'm constantly thinking about for the book. And and because of that, I'm finding these like big revolutions too. It'll be like 3 days where I'm like severely depressed, being like, God, this fucking sucks, and having to think about it and write about it makes it worse. And then there's like this gaseous revolution of like popping off that I'm like, oh my God, this is so great. You know, like the other day
Mm-hmm.
when we were in Croatia, I was in Dubrovnik, and that's where Game of Thrones was filmed, and they have the walk of the King's Landing where you can walk the wall and like do this shame walk that Cersei did. And I was like, woke up super early before everybody else, and I was vlogging, and I was like, I'm just so angry that I have to wake up at 6 a.m. to like go to a gym to stretch and like do mind work and breath work. Like I'm just so pissed that I have to fucking be this way so that I can go then do a thing that it seems everybody else can just go and do. And I was like so angry, and I was like, I'm just gonna go do it, and I'm gonna fucking pump myself up. I'm gonna go do my stretches. I'm gonna do all this shit so that I can go do this thing and be like a regular person. And then when I was doing my like free YouTube yoga class, the chick said something, and I was like, oh my God, this is so good. And she said, it's not about how far you can push your body, it's about how patient you can be with your
Oof.
body. And I just like collapsed to the floor, and I was like, fucking bitch, of course. Like as soon as I think it's something else. And it's like,
Mm,
it wasn't about that like resentment and that like self like hype and preparation, and it really wasn't about that. It was when I was on the walk and I felt pain, what did I do? Did I go like, oh, here it comes, like I so fucking do I ignore it, do I throw it in the back of my mind, or do I go like, bitch, you're on a fucking castle wall and like in the sun, in front of the ocean where Game of Thrones is and like, or do I do that? And it's like that only comes with so much fucking time and learning and getting out of what we naturally want to do. And so again, these like big sort of like, the only way I can describe it is like gaseous discoveries, like a giant fart being let out. Where you're like, oh,
I actually was like, what word? I was gonna be like, Kelsey, what does that mean? And now I'm like, oh, is that what that means?
like a giant rumbling where you're just like, and then it's like this release. I guess I could have gone like with orgasmic, but I went with gaseous.
I love that for this.
Yeah. And it's like, you know, fucking finding that balance of giving, I don't want to even say giving in, finding that balance of like doing things that make you happy while knowing what the repercussions will be, right? Like sometimes I could just be like, fuck it, I'm going to eat all the gluten and I know that that's going to make me inflamed and it's not going to be fun. And like that in itself, like that choice to be like, I'm refusing future, what's the word I'm looking for? Like I'm refusing future agony is the pleasure that I'm seeking right now. And then also just like masturbating a lot, flicking my nipples, you know, jerking it, doing what I gotta do, like all of that self-love, like body.
Yeah, fuck yeah. Okay, I love that so much. There's so much wisdom in all of that. It made me think of something too that brings me a lot of comfort, which is like, because when you were saying that about the castle wall, and then the pain that's there too, it's like so often all of it's there. Yes. And something I'll remind myself of like all the time is like, right now in the world, there's a funeral and a birthday party happening at the same time. Fuck. It's just like it can all coexist in our bodies too. Yes. So that skillfulness and wisdom to be like, all of this is here, acknowledge that, be real about that. And what do I want to focus on right now?
Mindset, right? It's like, it's rewiring though. Like it's fucking hard. Anyone that chooses to do like your class, read my book, like anyone that chooses to try to rewire is brave.
Yeah.
Right? And like Brene Brown, the queen, always says, like, if it's comfortable, you're probably not being brave. And it's like, bitch, I'm always uncomfortable. So I must be the bravest motherfucker. But also that like you find these moments, like you find the mindset shift and you look back and you get to go like, oh, old Kelsey would have been so like this about it. And now I look back at her with like such love and like, you know, hugs. And I just want to scoop her up and bring her here and be like, look at where we've come and what we found. It doesn't mean my pain's any better. Yeah. It just means like my thoughts about it are.
That's so funny because before this, I wrote down a question that was like exactly what you just said, basically. If 17-year-old Kelsey, because you referenced that, could see you now, would see you now, like, what would she say? How would she feel?
Like, do you I like feelings, yourself?
Okay.
Yeah. Like, do you remember yourself when you were 17? Like,
oh my gosh.
I just like, they would like be best friends, obviously, but 17-year-old Kelsey, I don't even think could understand. Like, I think I could tell her everything. Like, I see those TikToks where they like talk back and forth to their younger self, and it's like always so emotional. And I think my 17-year-old self would be like, fucking whatever. Like, give me a cigarette and like stand on your head and chug a beer. Like, I don't think she would like, she just, like, she's been through it, but she hasn't done anything with what she's been through yet. Like, she's still in it. So it's, I've never answered this question this way, because normally I would be like, oh my God, she'd be so proud. And she'd be like, oh my God, like I'd be so amazed and honored. And honestly, I'm kind of like, she probably wouldn't fucking care at all. She'd probably be drunk and like obsessed with some boy and like trying to get to college and like live in New York City and be an actor. Like, she'd be too focused on that stuff that like it's more fun to think about me looking back at 17-year-old Kelsey than trying to imagine like 17-year-old Kelsey looking at 31 Kelsey. Cause she just Okay. Like,
Yeah.
do we make enough money? Are we fucking a hot person? Like,
Yes and yes.
yeah.
And
And you're like a good person now. But I think what I would tell 17-year-old Kelsey is like,
Mhm.
stop fucking drinking now.
Right.
Everything that's like the one regret I have about my sobriety. And I know it's bad. And I'm like trying to still, well, whatever. Nothing's inherently good or bad, but it's something that like
Mhm.
people say, don't do that. Like it's not good to harp on the past. But I'm like, man, I wish I would have fucking stopped drinking earlier. Cause who would I be? Like, would I be even, you know, you say all that and then it's all to be like, no, bitch, you're exactly where you're supposed to be. Like you wouldn't be who you are probably. And
Mhm.
you are great. So be you now.
Oh my gosh, I have a question,
Mm-hmm.
and you're such an embodiment of this. I feel like sometimes the healing world, the healing path, the self-care path sounds so intense and
Mm-hmm.
serious. And I'm like, are you having fun?
Yeah. Do you like this life?
Yeah.
It's easy to get sucked in, man. People are really
Yeah.
good at selling shit. Like fucking like a fucking gym class that I'm like, I know this will probably be good for me. And there's like this one place in LA. I'll take you there one day. We won't actually go to
Yeah.
it. We'll just like go drive by it and sit outside and watch all the
Okay.
hot dudes. But it's called Training
Or
Me.
women.
And they're like, yeah, they're like they're all Australian dudes that are the teachers. And they're like
Okay.
fucking ripped and like the happiest people you've ever seen in your life. They're just like, oi, mate, oh, you look great. Yeah, let's fucking pump it. And you're just like, oh my God, this like, why am I not having more fun? And I just realized like I was fucking miserable. Like I hated high interval training classes, like high intensity training, HIT hit or whatever, like CrossFit, all that shit. I was like, I am not that. I just
Mhm.
am not. And society says I should be. I should love this way of doing this thing. And so I find that in the self-care world too. It's like, oh, I should love like a bubble bath with like LED lights and a bath bomb, but like that shit gives me a yeast infection. And I just like, I got to take just a regular old bath, you know, like
Mhm.
it does not have to be that intense. And you're so right. And like, I always go back to the idea of like, we all die. Like we're all gonna
I get
die.
that. Yeah.
And I don't say that to be gruesome. Like mortality can be so
Mhm.
like heavy in itself, but it's more like it forces you to be right now. And that's what I think I'm always trying to work on is like being more mindful, which is tricky when you're either like in pain or traumatized or like a woman in society or struggling with finances or whatever it is. It's like
Mhm.
sometimes we don't want to be here. Sometimes
Mhm.
we want to
Mhm.
be elsewhere, and that's okay too. And I think it's okay to like disappear, and I think it's okay to run from things for a little bit and like pack it away for a bit and do it when it's right and when it's ready. It doesn't always have to be so fucking uncomfortable, like you said.
Yeah. Yeah. So much of the work that you're doing, I feel, is like breaking this cycle of like
Mm.
layering painful emotions with more painful emotions like
Yeah.
judgment, right? Because so most, I'd say so many of us, or even most of us, maybe all of us, will feel crappy one day. We'll be like, oh, I feel really insecure today. And instead of layering that with being nice to ourselves, being like, oh, self, it's okay,
Yeah.
we're like, what's wrong with me that I feel so insecure? Like, I read a self-help book last month. Like, why didn't I integrate any of it? Like, what's wrong with it? And
Yeah.
I just love that the base of all this, I feel, and like what your messaging helps me come back to is like,
Mm.
just be kind. Like just be kind to yourself to the best of your ability with whatever you're feeling, and like
Yeah.
accept whatever shit is there, like, and try to layer it
Yeah.
with yeah, compassion.
Yeah. 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 There was like a conversation I had with a good friend. You'd actually love her. You guys should chat. I need to connect you. Her name's Allison Raskin. And she worked at BuzzFeed before I did and left right when I got there. So like she's more of the like OG days. And now she's like written books and scripts and she has a YouTube channel pocket. She's amazing. But she said something on our talk we did a couple weeks ago where she was talking she had been some through like some really serious like relationship trauma, And she was just like, yeah, things got a lot better when I just realized like no one promised life was going to be good or
Mm.
fair or easy. And I was like, at first I took that and I was like, what? No, that's fucking awful. That sounds horrible. Like that sounds so unfair. That sounds so
Mm-hmm.
not like fulfilling, but it's true. Like we were never promised anything from anybody except for like the movies, right? We think our
Mm.
life is supposed to be this one way. But what she meant was like, as soon as you take those expectations off, like as soon as I realized that like I was not promised a pain free life and I can get past that like unfairness, that's when things really start to bubble. And that's when things really kind of start to be fun. And that's when
Mm.
things are less serious and less like high stakes. Like it becomes very low stakes when you remember that. And I know it
Mm-hmm.
sounds like very like Neil deGrasse Tyson of me to be like, it nothing matters, but it's like, you know,
Mm-hmm.
it's another way to like observe things.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get it. I get it. I feel that. And I do that too with it's funny that thing of like we're all going to die someday. I'll say that all the time, especially to access bravery. Like whenever I'm
Ooh.
shitting my pants about something, I'm like, "Marley, you're going to be dead one day. Like this is fine. This
It doesn't
doesn't
fucking
really matter."
matter.
Yeah, exactly. But I know some other people like do not get, they're like, "Why would you say that right now?"
Yeah, because it's like what it feels like the layer on top of the layer where it's like, okay, maybe that's not what we need right now, but look, I have all these other things that I can like attach to this emotion. And it's really that's what we do is we build the tool belt, right? Like
Yeah.
we keep building our tool belt. And like, maybe it is the nothing really matters mentality that day that gets you through the
Mm-hmm.
meeting or the
Yeah.
relationship or the fight or whatever.
Yeah. Oh, what there was a quote that you said that was like, I forget what it was. I was like listening to one of your amazing I was listening to your podcast interview on
Love it.
Girls Gotta
Oh,
Eat. And it was
yeah.
so good. And I
Oh,
was like,
thanks.
Kelsey.
They're so fun.
There was something you said about like do whatever feels good for you if it's manageable. Like it was something really simple
Mm,
and beautiful like
I
that
don't
really
remember.
stayed with me. And it's just that, like you were saying before about self-care and the healing world, whatever, like so often we're like, oh, I should be doing this. I should be benefiting from this. This should help me. And at the end of the day, it's like, if it works for you, do that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And like
Yeah.
only you will fucking know. Like you have to be very, very honest with yourself about this thing because like we'll just be like, fuck it. We get into the fuck it attitude. And like
Mm-hmm.
something that helped me was doing the research for the book. I kept reading these studies that say like very intense emotions usually can only last for 20 minutes. Like
Mm-hmm.
the cycle can only be 20 minutes and it's usually most heightened between minutes 7 and 10. And so like if I'm going through it or something where I'm in that like fuck it, I'm just going to like blow the cash or I'm going to eat the fucking cake or like I'm just going to fuck a dick or whatever it is. I like get out my Apple Watch, I put on a timer for 20 minutes and I
Wow.
like do something else. I'm like, I can come back to the eat the cake, fuck the dick. And like, and if I still feel that way after 20 minutes, like I'll fucking do it, But
Yeah.
like chances are I don't. And it's like,
Yeah.
what do I do in those 20 minutes that's also different that
Yeah.
from what I'm usually feeling or thinking?
Yes, yes, yes. Okay, this is one of our closing questions that I just
Oh my
channeled
God,
that
I'm sorry. I love it.
I'm
I love
very
it.
excited about this embodied question. Are you ready?
Love.
It's
So
an
ready.
exercise. Okay, so I want you to embody an oracle card.
Mm.
Then we're gonna flip you over and what would your oracle card say as a message to the listeners?
Oh my God. My like comedian brain went one way, my like self-help went another way.
Okay, you can do we can do one self-help card, one comedian card.
Okay. So, okay, I love the idea of like flipping myself over and like what does it say? Um okay. I guess like my self-help one would be like, how do I say this like eloquently? It's like only you can be you, and that's your superpower. Like stop trying to be like anyone else. Compare, despair, like um comparison is the thief of joy, all of that stuff. And just remember that like you are the main character, right? Like you don't have a choice. You were given this, so you are the main character. So that would be my like Oracle self-help chick. And then like my comedian chick would be like, you flip my body over and like I fart. And I'm like, it's gaseous. And you're like, what? And I'm like, I don't know, something revolutionary. And it's just like a long, like really long, like whoopee cushion, like Adam Sandler type fart.
Yes, I feel inspired to get a soundboard for this.
Yes, you
new
can just
favorite
add it
deck.
in.
New
Yes.
favorite deck. Kelsey Darragh embodied Oracle deck.
I love it. I love it.
Yes.
That was
okay,
a fun question.
So, yeah, right. It just came to me. How can people connect with you and support everything you're doing and like get your book, whatever you're called to share?
Well, definitely support Marley because her life and story is gonna be part of my career. So like hype of this, like support this for sure. Selfishly. Yeah, you can get the book anywhere books are sold on Amazon or Thought Catalog if you live internationally. And they also have a cheaper version of the book on the Thought Catalog website. I can like send you the links. And then like definitely check out Justice for Soraya because that's gonna be a huge thing coming up soon. And then like, I don't know, just follow me on TikTok. I feel like I've been shadow banned on TikTok for the last week and it's awful because I've been talking about microdosing and I'm just like, what the fuck, TikTok? Yeah. And I love TikTok. I'm TikTok's #1 fan.
I know.
So go follow me there.
Everyone go follow Kelsey. I think I'm gonna do a whole episode on censorship because it makes me so mad because everything. But that's a whole other.
If you need a little voiceover from me, I got you.
I'm gonna finish with a compliment for you and just say that like for real, when Kelsey was talking about reaching out about the TV series and everything, like one of the reasons I said yes so fast was honestly because of you and like how in integrity I feel you are with your message and your heart and everything. Because there would have been certain people I'd be like, this doesn't feel right. But this, I was like, wow, universe, this is exactly it. Like,
I feel the same way. Same back at you. I literally it just feels right. I'm so confident that it's going the way it's supposed to. Period.
Yay. Oh my gosh. Okay. Thank you so freaking much.
Thank you. I love you.
Everyone for listening. Oh my gosh, how amazing is Kelsey and how incredible was that conversation? If you haven't already got Kelsey's book, I definitely recommend reading it. It is so good and so grounding and helpful. Thank you so much, everyone, for listening and for sharing such gorgeous feedback with us after just a few episodes. Please do share this and leave a review if this inspires you. I want to say as well, for all the women-identified folk listening to this, if you're looking for a space of sensual empowerment, self-love, global support, helpful resources on your own healing journey, I have an absolutely free global community run through Facebook. You can just go to my Instagram, click the link in my bio, and you'll find the Facebook group there. It's called Claim Your Sensual Empowerment. It is a beautiful space for women to connect, support, and uplift each other on our journeys. You are so welcome there. I'll also include a link in the show notes, and I'm sending you all so much love.